All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Acquisition Council. It's our new monthly live streaming webcast here brought to you by Vehicle Acquisition Network and VehicleHero.com. It's kind of the evolution of our monthly best practices and training webinar, just spicing things up a little bit. Today, we've got a focus on, last month, we focused on supplementing inventory gaps with cars off the street. Today, we're going to expand on that a little bit and get into the idea of leveraging Facebook Marketplace. And in just a moment, I'll have our special guest today, Zach Dill from Tuscaloosa Ford, to share some of his insights and tips on using Facebook Marketplace. After that, we will have a quick interview with Vehicle Heroes Benjamin Dykstra, and Van's performance manager, Jennifer Pourdrier, will be on the air with us as well. And then at the bottom of the hour, we're going to bring on Van co-founder Bill Anderson and Gary Wade, who's been with us on the program in the past as well. And we'll have a little speculative conversation about the used car market and prices and all that good stuff. I am Ryan Girardi. Thank you for joining us. Today is Tuesday, August 17th. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with all of this and more. All right. Hello. Zach, you made it. How's it going
Yes,
today?
sir. It's going.
You're down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. How's your day going so far?
It's hot, and it's already been a busy day, so it's pretty good.
You get down to the beach much where you are?
No, I never. I'm always here.
I'm a big beach fan, so I always look for.
I prefer the mountains myself.
All right. What do you do in the mountains? Camping, hiking?
Camping, yeah, hiking, kayaking, such as that.
All right. I like that. An outdoorsman. Very cool. Very cool. Well, welcome to the program. Like you heard me say, this is kind of a newer show for us. We've done our webinars every month, but we've changed things up a bit. So it's great to have you here for a few minutes. And, last month, like I said, we were focused on just generally the benefits of buying cars off the street from private party individuals. But then Jennifer had mentioned that you are an avid user of Facebook Marketplace to source vehicles. But why don't you give us a little context before we dive right into that? What specifically, because I think you have a unique role at the dealership that's a little bit unconventional. Can you explain your role at the dealership so that we all know kind of where you're coming from?
Well, my main job is sales. I've been in the business almost 2 years. I was a mechanic previously, so I've had 10 years experience as a mechanic, roughly, including schooling and whatnot. But like I said, mainly I do sales. I do kind of a liaison with service department for the sales side. They have a customer who wants to sell their vehicle or trade into a new vehicle or have any too many issues, don't want to pay their bill and want to get another vehicle, get out of their messed up vehicle. That's kind of where I fall in.
Okay, so that is pretty unique. Is anyone else at the dealership kind of doing the same thing, or is that all?
Every one of our salesmen has the same opportunity. It's just whoever takes the grasp of it.
And what made the light bulb go off for you to take that route and really work?
I like money.
The service department. So you saw money on the table then.
Pretty much.
Okay. And then tell us about what you do with Facebook. What piqued your interest about Facebook Marketplace?
I mean, I've used Facebook for years. I've bought and sold vehicles on Facebook in the past, just as bought a little junker, did a little bit of work to it, sold it, did that growing up. And just know there's a lot of opportunities on there.
Would you say you prefer Facebook Marketplace over other sources?
100%.
Okay. What other sources were you using previously?
I use Craigslist, Car Gurus, Auto Trader. There's OfferUp. I don't really use that very much. I've never had any luck on it. But, things of that nature. And then just, people walking in the door too.
And do you still use Craigslist at all?
Well, on occasion, yeah. Whenever I come, the van system compiles it all together, so I kind of scroll through there and see if something piques my interest that I feel like we'd want to purchase. There's just on Craigslist. There's just a lot of bots. There's a lot of my cousin, uncle, nephew, whoever's in town with the vehicle, and they'll bring you the vehicle. You wire me the money, and they'll bring you the vehicle in, and such as that. And it's just all scams. So Craigslist is not very viable in my personal opinion. But I have purchased one or two off Craigslist just because a lot of old folks still use it. Older people. Like I bought a 2016 Buick with like 9,000 miles on it off of Craigslist. Things of that nature.
I've heard that come up in conversation, that you have a different customer base in Craigslist, and it tends to be an older demographic. But still, if you can cut through some of the nefarious activity on Craigslist, there's some good cars to be had.
There definitely is, yeah.
So would you say Facebook? What you like? That's one thing that you like about it more is the reduction in scams and nefarious activity. Okay.
Definitely, it's just a lot easier. I mean, you send an instant message. Who doesn't have their phone in their pocket, whose Facebook Messenger is not linked to their phone. I get a lot better response from people off of Facebook than like the Auto Trader, Car Gurus. You got to fill out this little form, put your email in, and 90% of the time, 90% of the time I don't hear back from them.
So let's talk about your process a little bit. Why don't you walk us through how do you identify cars? Do you have any tips for finding cars on Facebook?
I just go to Marketplace, hit vehicles, and just scroll through it. Just weed through the ones that are dealerships, obviously, and I'll set the year filter to like 2013, 2014, because obviously we're not trying to resell older, super high mile vehicles.
So you're trying to find cars less than 10 years
that are financeable. Yeah.
Financeable. And is there a mileage cap that you're keeping under?
I try to stay under, 100,000 just in general. Trucks, I'll go up to 130, 140, because this four-wheel drive truck is a four-wheel drive truck. It's always going to have a place. But cars, it just really depends on what it is. I use my mechanical experience. It's just me personally, Hondas, Toyotas, I'm not worried about higher miles, like a 15 Camry with 100,000 miles on it. I'm not worried about it at all. But a 15 Nissan with 100,000 miles on it, I don't want it.
And are you just looking for cars in general, or do you have a list of cars you're like, I need these cars, and that's what you're looking for?
When I have a customer that wants a particular vehicle, then I'll make it an effort or one of my other salesmen is looking for a particular vehicle. I'll do what I can to find it and try to acquire it. But mainly I just scroll through. If I think, oh yeah, that'll sell, let's see what we can do.
Okay. So that's interesting. You'll actually help find cars for fellow salespeople at the dealership for knowing that they need certain cars for their customers. Okay.
Now our company, we actually, I don't know if we should say that or not, but I actually get paid on the vehicles that I purchase as well.
Right.
So, I'm making my money either way, and it helps the dealership, helps me. I've purchased in the past this would be the fourth month I've been really doing this. I've purchased 33 vehicles. That's, vast majority of those off Facebook, but a couple of them just walk-ins, a couple of them from service, Auto Trader here, there, Craigslist here, there, but I would say at least 75% of them have been off of Facebook.
Wow. And you said you've already acquired 33 so far this month.
At least, unless I haven't recounted. No, not this month. This in the past 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm averaging about 7 to 10 a month purchasing.
Gotcha. Last 4 months. There you go. Okay. So tell us about the process. You find the car. I imagine that you message the seller through Facebook Messenger is how that works.
Yes, sir.
What's your approach when you reach out to them?
Well, honestly, I do it as I'm an individual, right? I don't tell them I'm with the dealer until I've got a conversation going. Because I've run into it a lot here. Actually, just yesterday, I had a guy didn't even want to talk to me when he found out I was a dealer. And also, I don't think, like some people say, oh yeah, that's misleading. But in my Facebook profile picture, you see the Ford hat, you see my Ford shirt with Tuscaloosa Ford written on the side of it. So one quick click of that, you can see I'm with the dealership. So I don't see that as being misleading or anything. Because the information is there. It says right on my Facebook profile, Tuscaloosa Ford salesman. So I address it as, I'm an individual wanting to purchase this vehicle. And then I ask them for the VIN number, tell them, I just want to run the Carfax, put it in. Then I get into, I'm actually a buyer with a dealer, it's just, if it takes that, I try to avoid telling them I'm with the dealer until I've got a number ready, just because, and there's a lot of people that have bad experiences with dealerships, and it's just like, they hear the word, I'm with the dealer. It's like, nope, walls up, I'm done. Don't want to talk to you. When they don't even give me a chance to give them my offer. There was one guy in particular that said, no, I don't want, you're just going to try to give me a wholesale price. I don't want to deal with all that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, you haven't heard my number yet. My money clears a lot faster than most other people's, it's certified funds. Money's money, right? And I said, well, yeah, just give me your offer. I gave him my offer, and then boom, took it. First offer right there, brought it to me, sold it.
So just for clarity, you don't reveal or claim that you're a dealer, but do you claim that you don't claim that you're not a dealer?
No, I never say that I'm not. If I'm asked, are you with the dealer? Yes, I'm with the dealer.
Okay. How, you mentioned there are times when the person, they come to recognize that you're with the dealership. They don't like that. How often is that do you lose the deal because of that?
I mean, I wouldn't say very often. It's happened twice, I think, this week. I've had two individuals, not even wanting to discuss anything with me because I'm a dealer. But then I just say, when that happens, I say my piece. I got a little spiel I put out there. Said, look, my money's money, right? My money's just as good as everyone else's. My money clears a lot quicker than most other people. If you benefits to selling to a dealership, you don't have a random person coming up in your driveway or coming up to your work to test drive your vehicle. You don't know if they got a license. You don't know if they got insurance. You don't even know if they got money. We're a large, reputable company. Our money's good. Our insurance is good. So also the biggest benefit, especially with these higher mile vehicles, like even 80, 70, 80, 90,000 mile vehicles that are out of warranty, typically people sell them when they start having issues. You sell it to an individual, then the motor locks up or water pump or starts overheating or something happens, days after the sale, that person's going to be contacting the seller, bugging them, say, hey, you sold me a piece of junk, or hey, this has happened. What are you going to do about this? Now you sell it to me. If I miss it in my inspection, then that's on me. We take care of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a lot of benefits to selling to. Yes, you're going to take a little bit less money, but it's the ease of the process. You don't have to worry. If you got a loan on it, you don't have to worry about paying the bank off and getting the person you sold the vehicle to the title. We pay the bank off directly. They send the title to us. Once I get the title in hand, I give you a certified check for the equity. That's another thing that's kind of hard to overcome, but that's just our company's policy.
Sure. So I'm trying to imagine the communication back and forth. Is it like question and answer, or are you giving them maybe expanded details of all the reasons why it's safer and better to buy from you?
I go to whenever I get a hiccup, well, I'm going to sell it privately to get more money for it, or I don't want to sell it to a dealership, or that's when I go into that little spiel there.
So you might give them a list of reasons and lay it out.
Yeah.
How often does it go into a phone call, or is this almost
very
always
rarely?
a message?
Only really phone call. Like I've had a couple when I say, "Is this real? Are you actually with the dealership? Are you trying to scam me?" Like, no. I said, I'm with Tuscaloosa Ford. You're welcome to go online, Google us, because if I give you a phone number, obviously that's going to look shady. So I said, look, just go on Google, type in Tuscaloosa Ford, call the main number, ask for me. My name's Dill. They'll transfer you directly to my desk, or you're welcome to speak with one of my managers if you just want to confirm.
And you say you do about 7 to 10 a month is what you're averaging? Roughly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think I'm sitting at 6 so far this month.
All right. And you say about 3/4 of them are coming from
Our
Facebook Marketplace. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I just address it as I'm the person trying to buy the vehicle. Said, just, hey, like the little instant messages they have already pre-selected or pre-typed out. Hey, is this available? That's typically my first thing. Unless they say, don't ask if it's available, I won't respond. Then I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm interested in this vehicle. What can you tell me about it? Or can you give me the VIN number just so I can check the Carfax, or things of that nature.
And so a lot of sellers don't like the when people just hit the button that says, is this still available?
Yeah, exactly.
They're just like you can do better than that.
Yeah. But it also, it does, I don't have an issue with that part of it very often, unless it clearly says, and like if they type out in their post, I won't respond to, is this available? Then I just click, is this? It's just easier for me because I probably message 20 people a day.
Right. It can really add up. So cool. So what, just kind of looking at the big picture here, I mean, what do you think, looking at your dealership with the compensation plan, with the autonomy to do these things, what do you think makes this work for you at the dealership? You say every other salesman has the option to do it too.
Mhm.
Why aren't they diving in and following your lead?
I don't know.
They see what you do, right?
Probably because every time they go to reach out to someone, I've already reached out to them.
You're beating them to the punch.
Yeah, I come into work 2 hours early every morning, and just only because our service department opens at 7, our sales department don't open until 9. I get here at 7 every morning. I'm talking to service customers. I'm scrolling through Facebook, sending messages, getting a list together for my appraisers to take a look at. And then once I get my numbers, I reach back out to them and say, hey, so I'm a buyer with the local dealership. Another thing I've started not doing, I don't say what dealership I'm with right off the bat. I say I'm a local dealership because a lot of times people get insulted by the numbers we put on their vehicles. So I don't need them going on, of course they can easily find the information just by going to my profile. So again, I don't feel like I'm hiding anything.
Yeah.
So I just don't volunteer. Yeah, I'm with Tuscaloosa Ford. Here's my number. I said, I'm a buyer with a local dealership. We would like to offer you X amount for your vehicle. Yes, sometimes it's within $1,000 or $2,000 what they're asking for it. Sometimes it's $10,000 off from what they're asking for it, especially in the market we're in right now. Everybody wants gold for their vehicles. Everybody, we're paying gold for these vehicles, but this doesn't always work out. But a lot of times I can get over, a lot of times they'll be like, say they're asking 45, I offer them 39. And it's a 100,000 mile truck, and they put in the listing it needs tires. So like, look, man, I said, I'm going to have to spend at least $1,500 in tires. I know this isn't your problem. I still got to run it through my shop. I've got to inspect it. I got to do the maintenance. I got to rotate, balance, alignment. If it needs brakes, I do brakes. If it needs coolant, transmission fluid, whatever it needs, I got to do that before I can resell it. Yes, that's not your problem, but the benefit of selling it to me, and then I go into all that other.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of final questions, and then obviously we'll let you get back to work here. Time frame. And I know not every scenario is the same. How often are you reaching out to a seller and exchanging a few messages and agreeing to make a deal, just from that, first round of communications? How often? That's what you're shooting for.
Yeah, that's what I want. And I kind of, with my experience, kind of know what vehicles are worth. Even in this market, I can kind of see, okay, yeah, their number's not too far off, or yeah, they're asking what I'm going to ask for the vehicle when I put it on my lot. So obviously I know I'm going to be, between pack and profit and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to be $4,000 to $5,000 less than what they're asking for it if I feel like it's a good retail number. Again, numbers aren't I'm a product specialist. I'm not always, even in sales, I'm the product specialist. I'm not the numbers guy. I give the information to the numbers guy, and he tells me, hey, we can pay this much for it. It gives me a little bit of room. They'll give me their top number, like this is the most we'll pay for this vehicle. And when I go back to the customer or to the person trying to sell the vehicle, I'll be like, say they tell me we'll pay 45 for it. They got it listed on Facebook for 47. I'll hit them at 44 or 43.5. Give myself some wiggle room because I know they're going to bounce back and forth. They're going to want to negotiate. So I give myself, they'll come back, say I hit them at, say they're asking 47. They tell me I can do 45. I hit them at 43.5, right? He's going to come back and say, do 45. I'm like, all right, give me just a minute. Let me see what I can do. And then I'll come back a few minutes later and say, look, man, I want to buy this truck from you, but I cannot pay that. I can go up to 44, meet you. I'll come up 1,500. You come down another $1,000. Let's put this together. Let me give you some money.
So you have your strategy down. You come in a little lower, knowing you're going to go up. You know what your ceiling is, and I guess you also know you could even go beyond the ceiling, but you got to get
on a case. Yeah, it just depends on the vehicle. Sometimes I got $500 to work with.
Now, if you don't close the deal on that first run, what's your process to follow up? Like, do you wait a week, 3 weeks? What's your
a couple days to a week? Just no really set schedule. If if say my number, again, same situation, say my top number is 44, they won't come past 45 and I can't get them to come down to 44 right then. I'm like, all right, man, my number's good for 7 days. If something changes, let me know.
Excellent.
And then towards the end of that, 7th day or whatever, and maybe 2, 3, or 4 days later, just really depends on what the vehicle is and how bad I feel like we need it. If it's a 4-wheel drive truck, then obviously I'm going to prioritize that. If it's a low mile SUV or a low mile sedan, obviously I'm going to prioritize that because that's a quick, fast turning vehicle for us. So a lot of times I can get with my managers and be like, hey, we're at 44. This guy's at 45. Do I got any room here? Can I put this together? What do y'all want me to do?
Well, I can see why Jen recommend talking with you. You bring you got your strategy together. You know what you're doing. It sounds really effective. So we are out of time, but Zach, thank you so much for taking the time to be here and being with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Zach Dill, everybody, from Tuscaloosa Ford down in Alabama, and he's the acquisition specialist. As you saw, he's really on the sales side and does also as part of the acquisitions as well. And as he said, he also gets into the service department to pull opportunities into his pipeline as well. What we're going to do is we're going to transition over to our interview. We have Ben Dykstra from vehiclehero.com and Jen Pourdrier coming on. And folks, if you head over to buywithvan.com and look at our website, or actually look for our blog, you'll see we are now posting information about the upcoming shows. So you can see we have Zach, Jennifer, and Gary lined up here. Gives you an idea of what we're going to talk about. And you can also click the link to YouTube where we're streaming. And by the way, thanks for everyone that's tuned into our live stream for being here. Feel free to use the live chat and send us questions and comments and reactions throughout our conversations. I'm going to go ahead and exit the stage, and then you're going to have Ben and Jen on for about 10 minutes, and then we're going to start our discussion panel on used car wholesale retail prices and supply and demand. So here comes Ben and Jen.
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going?
Good, very good. Well, as many of you may know, Jen and I do work together. We have different roles, but we do know each other. Always a pleasure when we get to spend some time together.
Oh, yeah.
Ms. Pourdrier.
Yeah, it's the South. Where I live, it's like Pourdrier, Poo. Some people just stop right there.
Excellent. Well, hey, let's jump right in because I think Zach brings up a few really good points. Really good discussion topics. So as a performance manager with Vehicle Acquisition Network, you obviously are talking to people in dealerships that are doing this job on a daily basis. So boots on the ground. I mean, you're aware of the struggles, the challenges, the successes, the things that work and do not work. Zach brings up a lot of really interesting points and issues. And there are two sides to a lot of the things and the strategies that he brought up.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, first of all, about follow-up.
Follow-up's huge.
Yeah. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, and I think Zach really hit on it. I mean, he's one of the ones we talk frequently that he actually does follow up, even on the customers that he's $4,000 or $5,000 away from. Too many times we go in as performance managers and we're trying to help these dealers, and we'll see where they've put do not contact anymore on somebody because they were $4,000 or $5,000 away. And for us, it's kind of like, why? I mean, we all know, I know me, myself, if I'm going to buy something expensive, I might not buy it that first day. I'm going to kind of wait for it to be on sale. It's the same thing with the seller. They've got to get a couple bad offers first before they come back to reality and realize, oh, okay, wait, maybe that offer of 45 wasn't so bad. I need that now. Or like Zach said, having a couple weird people at your house, test driving your car, it really kind of brings them back to reality and humbles them a little bit. And I think far too many times our dealers are missing that. They're just looking at the 1 and 2 day, listings that they see instead of going and looking at the 10 and 15 day listings on there.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion point because, when our team is working these leads and calling people, obviously we want to make first contact, like as Zach said, come in early, right? The day, look at the new listings, see what's there, because we're sort of attuned to the fact that those are going to be the hot leads, right? Those are the fresh inventory, the new leads. Do you really think that those are the hottest leads in the system?
See, I don't. I completely disagree on that. I have actually gone into a few of my dealers and I've used our price change filter and I've thrown that in there for them, especially the dealers that I know are looking for specific vehicles. So with the price change filter, it just kind of shows them that red flag. Hey, look, this person just dropped that price. They've dropped it down $2,000-$3,000. That's someone you need to reach back out to. I get you might have been 10 grand away that first time, but now where are you? They're dropping their price. They're a little bit more desperate. You find out what the situation is. For me, one of the things that I do suggest is, yes, look at those first deals right there, those first listings, but go to page 2, start at page 2 and just see what's there. See who you have not spoken to. And that's where with the van system, I think far too many times they're not setting those tasks, those reminders, hey, I get I was $5,000 away, but set a task for 2 weeks from now, call back, talk to them again. I think some of our most successful dealers, they do that. And that's what sets them apart. But I think a lot of times it's just we as performance managers just have to keep reminding them and showing them and coaching them through that.
We talk a lot about using our offer as both a baseline and a backstop. So yes, if I'm talking to you on day one, we're having a conversation. You may tell me, if I make an offer that's lower than your asking price, you may tell me, I appreciate that, but I just listed it. Right. And, I'm getting some messages, so I'm going to work some of these deals, right? Mm-hmm. You're still going to make your offer and encourage the customer or the seller to use that offer as a backstop, right? So we'll make sure that you don't take less than this. And is it all right if I follow up with you? So what happens in the meantime when we've made this offer on day one and then 7 days go by, and you mentioned the price reduced filter. I don't know if everybody watching might know that the system has that capability
price change, right,
to flag these listings that have had reductions in the price. Okay. Yeah. But talk about what's happening mentally in the seller's mind over that 7-day period, especially if they have reduced the price.
Well, and I think Zach really hit on that. I mean, these people are going and they're having strange people contact them, right? They're going through, Joe Schmo contacting them who, I want to pay 47, but I got to try to get financing. And can you finance me? And these are all things that, I know it would wear me down after the third person that, I want to come see it. I schedule a time, they come and see it. And now they're like, okay, now I'm going to go try to get financing. Well, I just took my time out of the day. I'm a single mom with 2 kids. For me to go take 20 minutes to meet somebody in a public place to show a car, and then all of a sudden now they're telling me they got to get financing, I'm out. I'm sorry. That's going to last about 5 days before I'm annoyed. And all of a sudden the offer of 45 with that easy money sounds pretty good. But I think it's a communication too. Listening to Zach, the way he kind of, sets in their expectations, hey, cash money, easy, certified funds, here you go. That was a big thing for me. I actually learned something to really, tell my other dealers, hey, this is something you need to think about when you're talking to these people. Instead of just them saying you're crazy, we're too far apart, remind them why doing business with you is easier and better. And I don't think many do that.
Ryan comments he likes how your outfit matches the show's colors. Nicely done. Nicely done.
That made fun of me.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
I did not. All right. So it's human nature to assume that the asking price is not going to move that much. Right.
Yeah.
But there's all these car shows out there, and there's all these movies about the car business, and everybody sees all this negotiating tactics and everything. In my experience, I don't know if you can speak to this, but in my experience, the initial asking price is often way higher than the number that somebody will accept for the vehicle.
In their head, yeah.
You think that that's true in many cases?
So you see it more times than not. One thing that I see is too many people I had this conversation with a dealer the other day. He was going by their asking price and just saying, hey, sorry, we're going to be too far away. And I asked him why. And he said, well, because they're asking this. I'm like, but you don't know what their number was. I said, that's the same thing as, someone coming in and buying a car and say, no, I'm too far away, not knowing what you'll negotiate. There's always a negotiation process there. It's just a matter of talking to the person and finding out. And yeah, maybe after a conversation or two, you are still too far away. I had a guy the other day, a dealer up in Ohio, that wanted $27,000 for a 2017 Mini Cooper. And he believed it was worth that because they were discontinuing the model. And that's why he was going to get $27,000. And I mean, the acquisition specialist handled it great. I mean, she said, I understand your thoughts and your feelings, but in reality, cars do not appreciate that much, even when they discontinue the model. And the guy actually listened to her and he's like, well, what can you do? And she's like, the best we're going to be able to do is, I think it was like 13 or something like that. And they ended up making a deal. I think it was like 14.5, but he was asking $27,000 was his initial asking. So it's just a matter of talking to the customers and really, tackling it just like you would, buying a car or dealing with someone that was buying a car. How are you going to negotiate with them? That's my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think if that follow-up is neglected, it's almost like wasted effort on day one.
Yeah.
If you're going to make the effort on day one and you're going to get the offer, you're going to plant that seed. Even if you're going to get the no, right? You're still going to plant that seed. If you don't circle back around to check on it, it's wasted effort. Would you agree?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Far too many times we see it.
Well, Jen, we got just maybe a minute or two left here as we kind of wrap up. Is there anything else you want to talk about specifically? Any good stories from the last week or two?
No. I mean, I've had a couple dealers that have had their very first acquisitions to a Canadian dealer. So that's exciting when you get that call, especially in this market. I mean, it is hard. These people their expectations, they got a little knowledge and now they think their cars are worth crazy amounts. So just plugging along with COVID over here.
Well,
COVID world.
Appreciate you making the time for this and certainly hope that you feel better soon.
Yes. All right,
Ryan, back to you.
All right. Good stuff, my friend. Let's see if I can get the controls here right. I got a little confusion. There we go. Wait, you're big. No, you're little and I'm big. That's so weird. All right. So we're going to bring Bill Anderson, Van co-founder. Jen did so well. I thought she was going to cough to death, but she managed to do really well. So good job. She's probably backstage coughing up a lung right now. All right. So we got Bill and we have Gary Wade here. Gary's retired out of the business. But he's able to join us today. So it's great to have you back, Gary. How's it going over there?
Hey, Gary.
Good. Thank you.
And Bill, our regular mainstay. Welcome back to the show, Bill Anderson. Oh, he's on the phone. Okay. So let me stage this. So according to a Bloomberg report, let me actually put this up here on the site for everybody. So according to a Bloomberg report, the record-breaking rise in used car prices does appear to have peaked. Wholesale prices have started to decline now for 2 straight months. So our discussion is how this will affect retail car prices and maybe an outlook on supply in the final quarter of the year. Just for some numbers, as of mid-June, Manheim's wholesale index of used vehicle value was 36% higher than a year earlier, but down from an annual rate above 50% in April. And according to a report by Cox Automotive early August, wholesale used vehicle prices from a mixed mileage and adjusted basis decreased 2.6% month over month in July. So this brought the Manheim Used Vehicle Index to 195.2, which is a 23.5 increase from a year ago. So I see no better way than to start this conversation here with Gary. So Gary,
Yeah.
I have two questions for you. The first is going to be, what is your take on the current market right now, knowing what I just read about prices coming down over the last couple of months? What's your take on that? How you would see it affecting retail over the coming months?
Well, the first, what I see right now is, dealers are going to be on one side of the fence or the other. And I think anyone that isn't aggressively going after business right now or aggressively going after acquisitions is missing the boat. If you still look at it with those type of percentage differences from month to month and percentage differences annually, we're in a very, very aggressive market still. And if anyone's thinking that, the ceiling's going to fall or, things are going to drop out the floor, I think they're going to leave themselves really short of the lifeblood of their dealership. And I hope everybody realizes the most important thing that right now you can do is acquire inventory. It's the only thing that's going to keep you going. I mean, it is your lifeblood. It is what brings every sale into the dealership, and that's acquisitions. So in any way that you can get out to the public and get these acquisitions made, you've got to do it. You've got to be aggressively on the price. Think about that. We're still, 25% more price than we were a year ago on the same vehicle. So it's still a very, very strong, aggressive market. Now, I think one of the best things that's happened for dealers is that the media has said that these prices are going to, fall and drop. And instead of the selling public being so, I'm going to get $1 million for my car, they've had to back off a little bit from that thought pattern. And it's been a pretty hot topic on some of the blogs and some of the chat rooms that I stay up on.
Tell us about those. I know that you frequent, you said David Long's Friday Weekly Clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
What are you hearing in those corridors?
Well, that's it. That's called All Things Used Cars. And it's a fantastic consortium every week of dealer personnel and automotive personnel or technology personnel. I mean, everything from Lynette, who is the head of Google's automotive branch, to a gentleman that's the head of Facebook's marketing for automotive retailing, and everything that comes along on these Friday morning meetings is it's live. It's anyone can get in and talk, ask questions of anybody on there. The expert advice is coming freely and really moving along. So a lot of the things that are being talked about are this pricing change, are a little difference in the market, and how you can take advantage of it as a dealer.
And you're up there pretty much every week, you said?
Yeah. I try to, if I can, and I try to get on it every Friday morning.
And what
it's called
keeps
All
you,
Things Used Cars.
What keeps you interested in the used car business?
Well, I did it for so many years, and the being retired, I try to keep my mind sharp. I try to keep involved with friends of mine that are obviously still in the business. I mean, you get an old guy like Bill that, I'm older than he is. But, it allows me to stay on top of the marketplace and see where I am and act as either a mentor or possibly a sounding board for some people I know that are actively trying to get buying centers put together and using the different technologies that are available through Van, through KB, different places, that how to maximize these opportunities and best practices.
Well, we've definitely hit a season where acquisition, as you pointed out, has become so critical, probably just over the last year. Prior to that, I think a lot of dealers were very casual about it. Going back to circling back around to prices, Ben, just from your vantage point, you're in the vehicle hero side. You're seeing customers come in wanting to sell their car. You know what the market's going to hold. From your estimate, is there any sort of upper limit to what used car prices could be?
That's a great question. I mean, you referenced the Bloomberg article about how prices are continue to go up, but then have sort of fallen back a little bit. And the question is why? Because there's really no relief coming from the supply chain anytime soon, at least in my, informal polls of people that are on the ground in dealerships, and folks that are talking to manufacturers. Everybody's saying it's the end of this year, it's into next year. Some are saying into 2023 before there's any sort of return to normal, quote unquote, normal stocking levels. So, the question is, if there's no relief coming from the new car side of things to replenish stock, what is the upper limit of a used car? And I think there is an upper limit, practically speaking, because of the fact that cars have a cost per mile to operate. And that's a perspective I've had for years as we talk through the sales process with customers. If you add up all the money that you spend on a car between the payments, the price, the interest, the maintenance, the insurance, the gas, all of that, and you divide it by all the miles you drive that car over the term of your ownership, you'll come up with a cost per mile. You can drive an inexpensive car for a pretty low cost per mile unless you have to fix it. That's going to raise your cost per mile. You can drive a really nice Lamborghini or Porsche or Ferrari, but your cost per mile is going to be astronomical on a car like that. And so it's up to each consumer to decide basically what's worth it from a cost per mile standpoint. And I think when you're looking at a 20 to 25 to 30% increase in vehicles that have a finite lifespan, there's a bell that goes off somewhere in the consumer's mind to say, this just isn't worth it. I'll figure out something else, rather than spend $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 on a pickup truck with 100,000 miles on it that may or may not last until the end of my payment term. I'll just figure something else out. I'll keep what I have. I'll fix what I've got. I'll keep it on the road, and I'll wait this whole thing out. And I think I feel like I'm rambling a little bit now, but I think that's my biggest concern going forward, is that type of thinking, leads to further inflation. We've already seen inflation in prices, particularly in the car business. But that sort of thinking could erode consumer confidence and really start to affect the business in a negative way.
Bill, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, here I think in particular gas prices and mileage and there's a finite term, right? They're allowed only this much room, so it's really good perspective, to be honest. I'm not that smart to be able to challenge values, except that, like Ben said, I don't see anything changing for quite a while. There's a shortage, guys, and that's not changing. If anything, I think it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better. Are some of those vehicles that Ben's team is trying to buy just trying to make money? Right? Are they really trying to sell their car? Cost of replacement's a big one, I think, for anybody right now. Right. So you can sell that car, but what are you going to do? Go buy another one that's overinflated in price to begin with?
Right. You still need something.
Right. Well, most people do, right?
Yeah.
Most people do. So that's a weird situation to be in. You're always supposed to buy low and sell high, right? You can't buy high and sell higher. It just doesn't work that way. Ben knows that all I guess that's fair. Lately, they are buying high. And
right now we're buying high.
Particular markets anyway, particular types of vehicles. That's not everything, though. And I think that's where sometimes the consumers don't look at the particulars or the nuance or the finite pieces in the corners about that they're, I'm sorry, sedans just aren't that popular. I saw a purchase on an 86,000 mile, 5-6-year-old Toyota Corolla by the Vehicle Hero team yesterday. 10 grand, I think it was what it went for. Tell me when in the past that ever would have happened, Gary. Right? It's, it's a popular, nice little car. Don't get me wrong. Right? Corollas are known for running on and on and on forever. They have a great reputation as a solid vehicle for somebody. But once if the dealer bought it for 10 and then they're going to fix it, make it 11, and they're going to put a pack on it for $5,000 to $1,000, what are they going to sell? They have to sell it to 13.9, but dealers are used to making $3,000 to $5,000 per unit these days. What are they going to try to sell that car for 18 grand? That car used to sell for the 10 grand they just, like retail sell. Not what they just bought it for. It's confusing, guys. I think that it's just a really, really hard time referencing the unease of the market and the different books, right? So I don't care if you use JD Power, right? Their program, or if you use Kelley Blue Book or anybody, or you can use Carvana's platform. Numbers are all over the place. That's the struggle. Is whether, I don't care if we're talking about wholesale or retail, the numbers just are so all over the place. One book is calling that same Corolla for 12 grand right now. The other book is calling it 8 grand. And somehow we have somebody that wanted to get it for 10 and is going to do that work to try to retail it. Made sense to their lot, right? Each individual situation requires a bit of a different play and execution to make things fly. Right?
I got a hypothetical question for Gary. I want to jump in here, if that's okay.
Please,
Gary. So it's talking about the book values. Okay, you ran a buy center not too far in the past, and had really good success, and ran a team that bought a lot of cars. So if you run into a situation where Kelley Blue Book is 12 and JD Power Trade-In is which is previously NADA is 15 and MMR is 17.5. I've seen these kind of spreads lately. And then you're looking at the market, the average of the listing prices. What do you do in a situation? Like, how do you put a number on that car?
Well, I guess you've got to rely on your historical data that you have in your trade-in tool, whether it's vAuto or any of the others. If you've done your due diligence all along, you should have a pretty good history in there that you look at what this vehicle is in your marketplace, and you look at what it has been from a sales opportunity in your dealerships. And you can look back not only just recently, but also a little historical value. And you keep in mind that the market is 25% up. We've never had this. I mean, typically this time of year, when talking about what Bill was, this is the time of year where we saw everything drop off. I mean, August, September, it was right before model year changeover. So this was a traditional drop off point. And also you were seeing all your new car inventory coming in from all your summer ordering and everything else. And you were looking forward to getting in your next model years. So it was traditionally a used car took a fall. Where we're not seeing that. We're not seeing appreciation over where we were July 15th, but we're seeing a heck of a lot of appreciation of where we were August 17th of 2020.
Yeah.
So you have to look at where your marketplace is. The other thing you have to look at is make a decision on whether it's something that you're going to acquire for your own retail or wholesale. Whether it's wholesale to somebody, if you're a multi-dealer, multi-rooftop dealer, and you're looking at placing it at one of your better dealerships to put that off, or is it something that you can wholesale and make money? There's an opportunity on every car, and that's what people have to remember. You shouldn't be passing on anything. And when I sat and listened to Zach earlier, that's one of the things, if I was giving him a little advice, I would say, Zach, don't pass on anything. If you can look at it and make money, if you can make a difference right now on what you're buying it for and what you're selling for, do it. And it's something that everyone, I think, should look at a little differently right now is we are going to see a very shortage in inventory. There's not the rental cars coming into the market this fall like we've always had in the past, coming out of the rental agencies. There's not the lease returns. My wife and I just looked at, we could get a fortune for her Subaru right now that's leased, $5,000 more than what the lease residual value is. But there's not another vehicle out there on the market anywhere in our locality that we can go into. So, it's something that the consumers have to look at. But as a dealer, you have to be looking at this every day. You can't let it go. You can't let, the opportunity, like you were talking about earlier, you can't let the opportunity of not following up happen. You have to make sure that you're going after everything you can.
So we use just average listing price. We take the average listing price and take off reconditioning and a profit objective and just go with it. The challenge is that number is often sometimes way higher than any of the three main valuation sources.
Well, it all depends. If I could jump in real quick, it all depends what you're looking at as a profit opportunity. And here's the thing. Dealers have kind of gotten a little fat on the last year and a half profit opportunities during this accelerated market. And you look at traditionally where their dealer opportunity on those particular vehicles were profit-wise. And I think because when it flattened out and dropped a little bit, you've got to, that's what I said, you've got to go back to your traditional data, and you have to look at what your market, how quick your market turn is on anything and how your traditional market turn is on anything. So you've got to temper yourself a little bit on, you aren't going to get the $3,000 to $5,000 profit on that 2010 or that 2015 Corolla, whatever it was, with 80,000. I mean, that's a prime vehicle. Bill was talking about 86,000 mile used vehicle in today's market. That's gold, in reality. So whoever you bought that for that dollar amount, you guys on Vehicle Hero did a phenomenal job placing that with that dealer. So that's a great price on that vehicle right now.
Yeah. The fear, I think, is that somehow somebody knows something that I don't know. And that's the reason why this value is here and this value is here and this value is here. And so everybody's worried, I think, that they're going to be left holding the bag when this huge crash comes. We've been talking about this crash in values for months now, and it hasn't happened based on everything that I see. And I'm not a market analyst or anything or some kind of economist, but I don't see how it could happen right now with supply being what it is. So what are we afraid of?
I think one of the biggest things is this chip shortage. And I saw something yesterday. I can't remember it was a plant near a plant that is Mid-South for Ford. There's 50,000 vehicles parked in farm fields, and the picture was along a river waiting for chips. Now, if they send a full, container ship full of containers of chips all at one time, 60 days later, you're going to see cars rolling out of, depots like crazy. And then they're going to have to react. But if your sales volume right now, if you typically sold 200 used cars in a month and you're able to acquire 80 to 100 a month, and you have the demand for 200 a month still, the reality is this: when they come in with all those new inventory on those chips, you're going to be out of cars if you haven't done anything. So you got to sell something every day to keep the money flowing.
50,000 trucks sounds like a ton. But when you look at the annual volume of sales and you think, okay, so every state in the union can have 1,000 trucks, which means every dealership in those states can have what?
Five,
Five,
six.
six. What good does that even do? Right?
Yeah.
Like how personally, I don't see a way that this whole thing comes crashing down overnight or in the course of weeks, even, right? Slow adjustments over the course of months. And I think I feel like your advice is really good and really on point, going off of historical data, what you've been able to sell things for, but then trusting in your own knowledge of your market, and not being afraid if the guides are telling you that maybe you're a little bit high.
Yeah, it all depends on what you're basing your decision on, whether you're high or not on. And, you know, the different places in the country will have different markets at different times of the year for specific vehicles. Here in Minnesota, right now, every 4x4 SUV and 4x4 small wagon, or every 4x4 pickup truck, right now you would see a increase traditionally in value. But Corvettes, Camaros, rear-wheel drive, Mustangs, sports cars, you would see, you know, by October 1st, if you didn't have them off your lot, you were going to sit with them. So it was something that, you know, regionally, this time of year, if I was buying a Corvette in the buy center or a Mustang, I was looking at sending it down to Hobby in Houston, or I was looking to send it to Atlanta down there, or Vegas. I mean, I was looking to market those cars in different parts of the region. Why do you think KBB, I mean, being Manheim, will bid, you know, a sports car up for a dealer that's in the upper Midwest in December? Because they know they're going to ship it down to a market that it's going to bring the money on. So there's always different ways to think about, you know, they always say there's more one way to skin a cat, but there's always different ways to look at what your profit opportunities are. And as a dealer, and saying, okay, I don't want to shut off that lifeblood stream. I have to be able to make money every day.
Yeah. I get this sense that geographic norms have expanded because of pricing, because you could have pricing very different 200 miles away from where you are, but if it could be significant enough for a customer to leave your market and go buy a car at a better price. So you almost have to evaluate and that affects your acquisition. You have to evaluate what you can really sell it for. And like you said, Ben, the numbers are all, or Bill, you said numbers are all over the place. And the geographic reach has probably changed a lot too for dealers. The chip shortage is not going away. I mean, manufacturers still closing down plants, postponing releases of new models. So yeah, nothing's going to change quickly.
Our lives have all been affected for the last, year and a half plus now, by the pandemic and a shortage into this. It's unprecedented. You know, everything that we're all going through right now is learn as you go. It's a tough situation. I can certainly feel and empathize with people with, that their thought process, or just brains, or just general mental health is off a little bit. And I think dealers are very similar to that way as well, right? They're very reactionary. We need cars. Hurry, let's get a hold of van. Oh, we don't need cars. We're not selling as much. Let's not buy any more cars. They deal with what's in front of them on a daily basis and don't have a bigger, longer term vision. And I think that's where a lot of the smaller dealer groups get caught, right? They're dealing with what's in front of them, but they don't have that crystal ball to share or know what is the right thing to do going forward, right? You just have to do your best every single day. And kind of like Ben said, and Gary said, buy a car, sell a car. The profit keeps things moving. You have to, it's your business. You have to keep it moving forward. And how they do that is by buying and selling and servicing cars. And without that vehicle, even as a friend of ours talks about it all the time, is that we bought that car. It went to our service department. They made a little bit of money in the service department getting that car ready, fixing it up. They might have had a part or two off the parts department shelves that got installed in that car that made a couple of more bucks for them, right? So there's money that these vehicles kind of keep that money moving, I think, and keeping your money moving usually leads to a better outcome in business. And I think that it's just, like I said, it's hard to know what the future looks like. I'm nervous about what next year looks like. I really am. I'm concerned about a recession, right? And how is that going to affect things? If people aren't buying those cars because they're afraid of what the market looks like or their jobs or whatever else they might be worried about, right? How do they react? And then how do our dealers react because of that sentiment or feeling? It's a massive catch-22. I guess we all rely on each other to continue to push forward.
You know, speaking as a former used car manager, I don't think we can criticize the short-term perspective. And I know that probably wasn't your intention.
No.
But you know, that's just baked into our industry, right? The 30-day cycle, right? The monthly turn. And particularly with used cars, it's no different. It really is no different now than it was a year, 2 years ago, right? Sure. It's about buying the cars for the right money, cleaning them up so they're nice, retailable units as quickly as possible, and getting them to a new owner, you know, for a profit. And it's no different now than it ever has been, right? It's just, it has to move faster because there is less volume. So I don't know where that thought takes me particularly.
Well, let me put you on the spot, Ben. Just put you on the spot for consumers coming to vehiclehero.com. Do you have any input or advice for them as far as their expectations? Because like you said, I agree, there is a limit on what people are going to pay for a car. We're probably right around there. But what's your advice to consumers out there right now?
That's a great question, Ryan. You know, I think consumers need to take a short-term approach, just like dealerships need to take. Meaning that once you've made the decision that you're going to sell a car, that you decide to do it right, you decide to be a good seller, you decide to represent the car well, to be responsive when people call you or text you or message you, that you are upfront and transparent and honest about the condition of the vehicle, that you make an effort to, you know, schedule showings, that you really take some pride in being a seller. You know, just as if you were a retailer of used cars. And my advice to people would be to do all of that as quickly as possible. Once you've made the decision, go ahead, gather what you consider to be your best deal or your best offer, and just move on. I think people that are speculating on the used car market, especially those that don't necessarily have a lot of experience, right? That may be picking up a car for what they think is a good deal and then holding on to sell it for all the money. Those are the people that are going to potentially get burned. Just get in and get out, just like the professional buyers and sellers and retailers do.
And it's great advice. Consumers don't. This is not a good time to speculate. Dealers obviously have to speculate and focus on the short term. Very, very, very contrasting differences. Folks, we're out of time. Ben Dykstra from vehiclehero.com, Bill Anderson, fan co-founder, and Gary Wade, retired out of the automotive industry. Gentlemen, great to have you here. We're doing this every month, and Ben and Bill and I will be back, and Gary, we'll hope to have you back as well.
Thank you, guys.
Good talking with all of you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Gary.
All right, so there's our counsel for today, folks. And, you know, we could get into speculative conversation a lot, but there's really not necessarily a need to per se, but it is a little bit fun. And I think some good nuggets did come out of that. So, again, we do this every month right here on our YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel and head over to buywithvan.com. Get subscribed to our blog and our learning center. In fact, if you look at the bottom of our posts, there is a link over to our learning center. And by signing up there, that will give you access to all of the post-production efforts that we put into place. So basically, we cut these shows up and make best practice videos for dealers in the marketplace. I am Ryan Girardi. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll look forward to seeing you next month here on the Acquisition Council. Take care, everybody.